Hello, this is Donna Johnston. Welcome to TTAC TV. I often field calls from people looking for the best stethoscope to use for telehealth, typically in conjunction with some form of video conferencing system. So which is the best stethoscope? It depends. It depends on the video platform you're using. It depends on the computer skills of the users. It depends on whether you need audio, serial, USB, or Bluetooth inputs. It's a hard question to answer because it depends on a lot of things. We'll get to the assessment process in a minute, but first I want to talk about the actual transmission of audio for telestethoscopy or teleauscultation. When you're using a stethoscope in a video conference, the audio feed can either be in-band, where the stethoscope audio is sent as a part of the audio stream within the video connection, or out-of-band, where the stethoscope audio is transmitted separately and outside of the video call. It's pretty simple to set up an in-band stethoscope connection because the Steth acts as your microphone and there is less tinkering to do with an outside feed. You just plug the stethoscope into your microphone input on your video teleconferencing system of choice and use that audio input for transmission to the distant site. But by design, video codecs will compress, filter, and decompress the audio-visual signal, which might otherwise drop or minimize relevant heart and lung sounds. While some users may feel comfortable with this, there's a very real possibility that significant and clinically relevant sounds may be compressed or dropped. The problem is that as the recipient of the heart and lung sounds, you may never know what was lost. Think of it this way. With video signals, when there's a drop in quality, our eyes can tell that key details are missing, frozen, or overly pixelated. Our eyes are generally good at filling in missing or distorted information. Our ears, however, can't tell what sounds may be missing from filtered or compressed audio. Some manufacturers are trying to solve this problem, but we have yet to find a solution that can guarantee high-fidelity audio over bad network connections. Out-of-band stethoscopes use a separate software package or hardware mechanism to transmit the heart and lung sounds. These systems, which are increasingly software-based, are designed to send a high-fidelity sound across the connection and are usually run concurrently to the video call from an application running on a PC or a laptop. Out-of-band software makes the workflow for the televisit more complex than the plug-and-play simplicity of in-band stethoscopes, as it requires logging into a separate application, finding the appropriate provider or remote computer, and requesting a connection. That said, many providers are willing to deal with such extra steps in exchange for greater confidence in the sound quality. Our lab has tested some of these out-of-band solutions on absolutely horrendous connections with dropped packets, high latency, and low bandwidth, and found that they worked very well. And notably, when these systems did fail, the audio was typically so garbled and distorted that it was clear that we were experiencing connectivity issues. Watch out though. Most of these in-band systems are dependent on annual software licenses with annual fees, which increase the total cost. In some cases, the price has increased over time, meaning that the applications themselves became less cost-effective. If you deploy a few hundred stethoscopes and the annual price per license doubles, will your program be able to afford it? Additionally, these systems may also require the use of software that communicates with servers or systems outside of your organization's control. Because of this, it's important to make sure that you have security protocols in place if you'll be transmitting protected health information. As always, we recommend working with the vendor to establish clear pricing guidelines as part of the purchasing process and to address any HIPAA-related concerns that you may have. Speaking of vendors, let's discuss selecting a stethoscope. First, before picking your stethoscope, you have to make a list of your requirements. Consider your users and the required functionality. For example, does a stethoscope have to work over a specific type of video conferencing platform or in conjunction with existing systems that you own? Do you prefer to use headphones, a speaker, or earbuds to listen? What is your total budget for devices and licensing? Who will be in charge of deployment and technical assistance? How will you manage user accounts, stethoscope endpoints, and other connection-related issues? Which side of the televisit should be able to control the bell or diaphragm filtering of the audio? Do you need the Steth to work as a standalone unit when it's not being used for telehealth? There are many other questions and requirements that you may need to explore when selecting your own stethoscope. At TTAC, we always suggest that you test a device in its host environment before a large-scale deployment. Most vendors are willing to loan you a test model for this purpose, which allows you to evaluate clinical workflow questions, hardware concerns, and networking issues. Also consider some variables that might make a huge difference in what you hear. I've heard of televisits that went wrong because the heart sound was transmitted over a speaker, but sounded fine after headphones were plugged in. This just reinforces the importance of testing what your clinical users will actually do and then training them on recommended best practices. If you're in an area where data speeds are questionable, you may experience packet loss, jitter, and other issues unrelated to the quality of the stethoscope, but critical to the quality of the audio. This is again why we recommend testing in your host environment. Time and again, we've found that what works great in our lab doesn't always work well on a messy hospital network or on the public internet. So to recap, there are multiple systems to choose from for digital or electronic stethoscopes, and they all have their own pros and cons. It is important to think through your clinical use cases and networking capacity when selecting a stethoscope. Requirements gathering is a critical part of choosing a device. If you're interested in learning more about stethoscopes for telehealth, head over to the Telehealth Technology Assessment Center's website, where we provide free information on selecting and implementing stethoscopes and many other telehealth technologies. Thank you for watching TTAC TV.